Okay, I know that you guys have been going insane wondering, am I qualified for the student loan forgiveness or the student debt forgiveness? How is it going to work? President Joe Biden just literally announced on Wednesday, August the 24th, about student cancellation. Well, I'm getting ready to tell you the 3 things that you need to know when it comes inside of this student loan forgiveness. So if you're ready, let's go.
The Debt Demolisher TV with Sophia Melonē.
Hi everyone, it's Sophia Melonē, the Debt Demolisher, here to bring you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you manage your financial baggage the right way. What an honor and privilege it is to be before you all for yet another episode drop here on the Debt Demolisher TV. Well, today we're going to be talking about the latest financial news. Yes, I know that you have been hearing all about this student debt relief plan, which includes a component of allowing student debt forgiveness or student debt cancellation. But I'm here to bring you the juice and the gems, because what I did not let you guys know is that I have been in several meetings with the Department of Education, listening into all of the things that they have been sharing around this, not only this process, but also the public service loan forgiveness program where the limited waiver is set to expire on October the 31st, 2022. But that's a separate conversation for another day inside of another video, because today we are just going to be focusing on the student debt relief plan. Now, there has been a lot of miscommunication. There has been a lot of mistalk, but I'm here to let you know exactly what it is that you need to know in order if you will qualify for this. So number one, the first thing, you have to have had applied for federal student aid. Number one, if you have applied for federal student aid and you are a Pell Grant recipient, and you were a Pell Grant recipient, and you had loans that were taken out, federal loans that were taken out, you, my friend, have the opportunity to be able to receive up to $20,000 of student debt cancellation. Now, there is a caveat to this instance. There is a wage cap that must be met in order for you to even pass on to be in the pool of consideration for those who have Pell Grants and were student loan recipients that have a student loan balance currently that's less than $20,000. So if you meet the income criteria, which is $125,000 if you are single, unmarried. Now, if you did not receive a Pell Grant, then you will be eligible to up to $10,000 in student debt forgiveness or student debt cancellation. Now, for both of these windows, there is a criteria that has to be met. And that minimum criteria is that you have to have an income less than $125,000. So if you earn more than $125,000, then this disqualifies you from even being eligible to receive this forgiveness. Now, if you are married, because there's 2 of you in the household, there's 2 of you in the home, then your wage and income cap is $250,000. So if you are married, $250,000. If you're unmarried, single, any other tax status, your limit is $125,000, and this applies to the borrower. So if you are the borrower and you received a Pell Grant, then you will be able to receive up to $20,000 in student loan forgiveness if you meet the wage income criteria. And if you were not a Pell Grant recipient, then you would fall under the bucket in the category of only getting up to $10,000 in student loan forgiveness. So as you can see with the summary card that I am showing you all, it's letting you know the amount of debt that will be forgiven, the maximum amount that will be forgiven based on the scenario. And then the lower level of that is that forgiveness only applies to those earning less than $125,000, and then $250,000 if you're married. And then the last 2 sections on here go over the remaining portions of the plan that they're rolling out. So as I was explaining, the administration has the authority, the legislative authority, to have this plan be rolled out or have these programs be developed because they are exercising it under the HEROES Act. And the HEROES Act is the Higher Education Relief Opportunities for Students Act. So when you look at the HEROES Act, it gives them the ability to be able to stand up programs and stand up initiatives that are designed to combat issues of not only but also national disasters. And since COVID-19 was deemed as a national disaster, that is why the Department of Education has the autonomy to be able to stand up this relief initiative. So if you are seeing anything in the news that's telling you, oh, Congress has to sign and all of this, no, they've already signed. They've signed under the HEROES Act. Look it up on 222. I'm gonna pull it up right now so that you can see it. This was a memorandum that was sent to the Secretary of Education, letting people know that this was going to be the public document that's going to be placed and made available to the public so that they can understand that the authority is already there. Because there's so many miscommunications, so many people are saying the incorrect things, that they had to put something out to show people that this program, this plan that they're rolling out is already solidified under the legislation that has already been enacted back in 2003. So if you have any particular questions about what do I need to do, so forth, granted, we're going to go to that, but I want to go over some of the other elements that's a part of this three-part plan that they're rolling out. So the three-part plan that falls under the student debt relief plan is, number one, we're going to start with the number one thing. The number one thing is that they are extending the repayment pause. So if you have federal loans, then you know that during this entire pandemic time, you have not had to make payments on your student loans because it has been assigned with a zero payment amount that will be due. So because of that, it was supposed to end August the 31st, 2022. That extension, that pause was supposed to end August 31st, 2022. But what the administration did, they are extending, and they have extended the repayment pause until December 31st of 2022. So we now have until the ending of the year to not be required to make any payments on our federal student loans. Let me be very clear, on our federal student loans. So if you have private student loans, I'm not talking to you right now in this conversation. If you have federal student loans, then you want to be able to pay attention because you won't have to make any payments on your student loans until it kicks back in, which will be January 1st, because that's going to be the final repayment pause extension that the administration is going to be lifting. Now, let's talk about the strategy between what I shared opening up the video and what I just said. So because they have extended the repayment pause until December the 31st, that will mean folks who have federal student loans are not required to make any payments on their student loans at this time. Now, the second piece, which is the second part of the plan, which is the forgiveness portion of the plan, where I was just sharing with you the criteria that you need to be able to meet in order to get the forgiveness, they are trying to do this in a way where it's automatic. So because of the stipulations, the Department of Education, technically, they really don't need any information from you unless you don't have any of that information that they need on file. So what do I mean by this? Because there is an income wage check that they do, they can get your income wage from the IRS because government entities speak to government entities. So all they have to do is get the information, receive a transcript, receive the income data from your, probably more than likely your most recently filed tax return. So more than likely your most recently filed tax return. So that way that they can see if on line one, wages, line one, the first income line on your tax return after you filled out all the information at the top and click your dependents and all of that, the first line that you have to report is what? Your wages. So that line is going to be the determining factor if you fall in that 125 or if you are married filing jointly and you fall under that 250 category. So if your income is less than that, then you pass the test. You've passed the income check test. The next piece is for them to verify the Pell Grant side of things, if you were a Pell Grant recipient or if you were not, and also looking at the types of loans that you have. Now, they did indicate that this is going to be automatic. They said it's going to be automatic. So because they already have your FAFSA information, the Federal Student Aid, which is the component sub-agency of Department of Education, they house all of your federal student aid summary information. So you can find out everything about your FAFSA. This is where you apply for FAFSA. This is how you get your student award letters. This is how you get your loans. If you signed up for any federal loans, then of course that will all be inside of your award letter as well as inside of your borrower's account. So Department of Education, they have what they need. and they can get access to what they need in terms of income. The only time that you would have to do something is if one piece of information is missing. So if one piece of information is missing, then they are going to be standing up an application process for you to be able to do that check to see if you're eligible. So based on the most recent news that I received, because I am actually on their list, so I get communications from the Department of Education related to everything that is happening. And they indicated that an application is going to be developed and made available in the coming weeks. Now, they're trying to do this quickly in the event that there are folks where they may need to provide some form of income in order to get that eligibility. Because here is why. Some people might not have filed any tax returns because they don't have a requirement to, because there are requirements of even when you have to file a tax return. So if you don't have to file a tax return, or if you're a senior, it just depends, because if you don't even make enough money, you don't even have to file in most cases. If that's you, then they won't have your income data. But let's say if you fall in that pack, but you have student loans, hopefully you don't, if you fall in that pack and you have student loans, they're going to need your income data because they can't retrieve it from the IRS because you never filed anything. So this is what I need you guys to understand. The application portion is coming. The Department of Education is doing everything that they can to get this stuff up as quickly as possible. You don't have to do anything as it relates to the most recently announced Student Loan Debt Cancellation, which falls under the Student Debt Relief Program, which is authorized by the legislation of the HEROES Act of 2003. So if you're focusing on that portion of the forgiveness, that you don't have to do anything. It's going to be done automatically, unless when the tool comes out, whenever they finish building out the application process to get information from the people who they may need, is going to be available on the website for you to be able to put it in, and then they can tell you yay or nay if you're eligible or if you are not. And the reason why they're doing this, and they want to do this automatically so that it's quicker, so that by the time the final repayment pause extension ends, hopefully your debt will be drastically reduced, or hopefully maybe whatever the limit is, whatever your student loan balance is at that time, these forgivenesses, whichever one you fall under, will eradicate your loan balance altogether, and you won't have to repay anything starting January 1. So you guys, again, this is for my folks with federal loans. This is also for my folks who meet the income criteria. Just be patient. It's going to happen automatically. You will know if you need to do something. And here's what else I'm going to do. I want to pull up the actual website that the Department of Education has already released and is made available to all public citizens. And that is studentaid.gov/debt relief. So let's go in and take a look at this. Okay, as you can see, this is the most recent announcement that has been made available on Federal Student Aid's website. If you go to studentaid.gov/relief, it'll take you right to this page. So this is basically the summary of what they're saying, what's expected under this student debt relief plan. I've already walked you through it thoroughly, but it's going through what I just explained to you. Here is where you could actually sign up if you want to get the subscription emails related to the updates from them directly. And one of the things that they're saying is that you'll have until December 31st, 2023 to apply. So when it comes to this forgiveness, they're given basically a year. So these were the parts that I was sharing with you all. The final extension of the student loan repayment pause. We talked about that. The targeted initiative that they're taking to relieve debt from low and middle income families. And so this is why there is a income limitation or income cap on how much the forgiveness, or who will qualify for the forgiveness, as well as depending on what types of loans that you have, because Pell Grants are given to those who really express a need of financial assistance. So they're essentially experiencing financial hardship, and their criteria of financial hardship is a really, really, really low amount of money. So what they're trying to do is give a greater relief to those with very low incomes versus, or who had very low incomes when they took out their loans, versus those who may have been in the mid kind of point way where they were still eligible to receive federal loans and not just the Pell Grant itself, because the grant you don't have to repay, but the loans you do. So they're saying that they want to be able to give that alleviation to middle and low income families. And so if you make $125,000 or less, you'll fall within the bucket. So as I've said before, the cancellation is going to be automatic for a lot of borrowers because they already have the elements that they need in order to determine who meets the criteria. So that's going to happen automatically. It says if the U.S. Department of Education does not have your income data, then the administration will launch a simple application, which will be available by early October. So this is going to be available by early October. He also says that you can stay up to date, as I've said, to the subscription page, but let's go down here. So once you have completed your application, you could expect to hear something back or receive an update within 4 to 6 weeks after that application has been submitted. They're saying that they're encouraging everyone who is eligible to file the application, but there are 8 million people for whom they already have data and who will get the relief automatically. So even if you know if you qualify, they're saying just put your stuff in anyway because they don't want to miss nobody. They don't want to take any chances on missing anybody. So if you get something before then, if it's automatic, you might get something before they launch the application. If you don't hear anything, or if you don't get anything, or if you don't see any changes at the time that the application is launched, just go ahead and put your application in. Put your application in using the software that they're going to be developing. The department also says borrowers are advised to make sure that they apply before November the 15th in order to receive relief before the payment pause expires on December the 31st. So here's what I need you really to pay attention to. This is literally like a time is of the essence thing, and it's all about timing. So what they're saying is they are guaranteeing that if you get your application in by the 15th of November of 2022, it will be processed by December 31st, 2022. And if that happens, you won't have to worry about anything if your balance reaches or meets the cap of whatever their $20,000 cap is or the $10,000 cap is for your student loans. So they're going to apply those payments. They're going to do all of that stuff before the repayment pause gets lifted, and then you'll have to start paying. Now, we know that this relief isn't going to cancel everybody's loans 100% because there is a cap, and that's why it's up to. So if your student loan balance is, let's say if you qualify for the Pell Grant side, you were a Pell Grant recipient, you make less than $125,000, and you have a student loan balance of $25,000. What they're going to do is they're going to apply $20,000 to your debt balance, and then that will leave you with just $5,000 plus whatever interest or whatever, however they're going to do it. That's going to be left for you to be able to pay. And then the inverse of that is if you have the same criteria, but your student loan balance is only $15,000, then they're only going to give you forgiveness for $15,000, which would eliminate your entire balance, and you won't even have to worry about anything once the repayment pause gets lifted because your balance will be paid in full. The department is also saying that they are going to continue processing applications as they are received, even after the payment pause expires. Here's what I want you guys to take from this. That if you get your application in after that November 15th date that they are stating, because it's going to take them 4 to 6 weeks to process, and 4 to 6 weeks will take you to the last day of the year. It'll take you to the last day of the year. So what they are saying is if they receive your application after the fact, and if they receive your application even after the pause is lifted, they are still going to process your application. So what this means is the moment the pause lifts, you will be in repayment status. You will more than likely be responsible for paying on your student loan balances or making your student loan payments up until this new forgiveness is processed. So just take this in totality. They are accepting applications starting from when the application opened up, which will be early in October, all the way through December, not just of this year, but of next year, because they're going to continue processing applications as they come in. But after December 31st, 2023, that is when this is going to sunset. So as you can see, they've mentioned this, they have all of the news here. I just want you to pay attention to the news. We just read up here at the top that they said you will have until December 31st, 2023 to apply. So that means that the cutoff for this particular relief cuts off December 31st, 2023, but the repayment pause goes away effective January 1, 2023. So if you are in repayment status, you're going to have to make your payments or work with your loan servicer and figure out your whole payment criteria and what you're going to be able to do so that you can still stay in compliance until the application is forgiven for you. So I know this was a lot, you guys. I know this was a lot, but I wanted to be the first to like bring it to you full. One of the things that I don't like to do is share incomplete information. Like Wednesday, the news came out, but nothing was really set in stone. Wednesday, the news came out. I was in a meeting with them even after this announcement was made. And they talked a lot about this, but I was in a meeting really related to the public service loan forgiveness program. So I was in a training, just learning more about the extensions and the limited waivers. So that way I can be able to teach people what they need to do to get their applications and to qualify for public service loan forgiveness. Again, that's a separate topic that's not related to what we're covering here. But even in that moment, it was still unclear. So we had to wait. I wanted to wait until there was more details. I wanted to ensure that I was able to see, okay, what is going to be the process? And as you can see, we pulled it up live and seeing that they're continuously updating that website about the debt release so that people can know exactly what's going to happen. So you want to bookmark that page. You want to save that page. You want to sign up for the subscriptions list. You want to tune into here. Click that notification bell because I'm going to be bringing you the juice as soon as the source, as soon as the information gets verified. And I'm going straight to the source. I've showed you the memorandum with the HEROES Act. I showed you exactly what it says on the Department of Education's website. I've showed you exactly what the Biden administration is saying what the criteria is. You're seeing it for yourself. And so my job is to help you interpret what the legal stuff is or interpret what they're trying to say so that it can make sense for you and your student loan situation. But there is hope. There is hope. So you guys with federal student loans, you're going to be in for some help if you meet the income criteria. So if you make more than $125,000 and you're not married, then unfortunately you're disqualified from this, but the people who need it is going to get it. And not to say that you don't need it, but people who need it more is going to be the ones who get it. So let's continue to stay tuned for additional news and more insight. And remember that your financial prosperity awaits you, and so does your financial sanity. You already know what I'm going to tell you to do, and that's what? Get to work. All right. Bye.
The Debt Demolisher TV with Sophia Melonē. The Debt Demolisher TV with Sophia Melonē.